Today we're going to get relationship advice from Spirit, and we're going to do that by pulling a card from each one of these decks. So one from the Yogic Path deck and one from the Divine Feminine Oracle. So, aren't they beautiful decks? I'm really excited about this one. I'm feeling like let's draw a card from the Yogic Path deck first, and then we'll go to the Divine Feminine. But I think we'll get both cards before we read about them. So with that being said, let's get our first card here from the Yogic Path deck. One card, please. Relationship advice from Spirit at the time the viewers view this video. So this can be about any relationship in your life. There it is. That you're either wondering about or struggling with. So it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but it could be. It could be a co-working relationship. It could be a family relationship, a friendship, anything along those lines. One more card, please. Relationship advice. Ooh, it's this one. So the Mistress of the Labyrinth is what I pulled for the Divine Feminine. My soul knows the way, and the only way out is through. And then for the Yogic Path deck, most of these cards I believe are in Sanskrit, so I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I will look up the English version of it. So I think I said we were going to read the Yogic Path one first, but this one I flipped over and read. So I think that's a little nod from Spirit to do it the opposite way. So I'm going to read the Divine Feminine first. And, right away before we even read it, she says the only way out is through. And I think that is a Coco Chanel quote, actually. The only way out is through. And it's a quote that I have a love-hate relationship with. Maybe you can resonate. It's just like, I think it can be comforting as we are navigating life to know, just keep going. And, there is a point in the journey, and through we become. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's difficult because, as I'm saying that, I think a few months ago on Instagram, I saw a meme that said they should they should invent a new way out besides through, or something along those lines. And I literally laughed out loud because I think in the moments when, or in the seasons when it can be difficult, we'd prefer not to go through. And as I'm speaking all this out, there's this Adam Sandler film. It's called Click, I believe. And overall, it's pretty stupid. And the premise is very interesting. So the premise is that he has this, this remote control that can fast forward the character, through difficult periods in his life, or even just difficult moments. And I thought of it when I said through we become, because I think it is so tempting to think if I could just bypass this or get through this and not have to deal with this and just get on the other side, then I'd be better, or then I would feel better. But what's truly coming to me, words verbatim, are through we become. And so there is an initiation, so to speak, in going through. And it's not an initiation because Spirit is punishing you. It's an initiation because Spirit knows the strength you have the capacity to harness. So with that being said, I'm assuming, or the sense I'm getting is probably things might not be there might be a difficult period with this relationship that you're in the midst of. But what really wants to be said is you're seen in that, and it has a purpose. Through we become. So let's read about this Mistress of the Labyrinth. Okay, so I believe you pronounce her name Ariadne. My apologies if that's a mispronunciation. So, but we're going to go with it in order to move forward here. So Ariadne, the Mistress of the Labyrinth. My soul knows the way, and the only way out is through. Who she is. Ariadne represents the love and support available to us when we dare to be courageous. Ariadne is known as being both a Greek goddess and the human daughter of Minos, king of Crete. Her father put her in charge of the labyrinth, where 7 human sacrifices were made every 7 years to appease Minotaur, who lived within it. The Minotaur had the head of a bull and the body of a man. He preyed on those who got lost in the dark. One year, a valiant and heroic man named Theseus went into the labyrinth to slay Minotaur and ended the sacrifices. Ariadne fell madly in love with him and gave him a sword to kill the Minotaur and a ball of red thread so that he could find his way back out of the labyrinth and into the light. Ancient Greek myths were oral, so there are varying accounts of Theseus and Ariadne eloping after his success, or others where Ariadne's consort, Dionys, if you tune into my videos often, you know that I have a real trouble pronouncing things. Oh my God, pronouncing things. This is hilarious. Okay, onward. The Greek god of the ritual madness and religious ecstasy chases after her and pleads with her to return to him. Whichever the way the story ends, the constant is that Ariadne's love and support changed the fate of so many who would have otherwise been lost in the labyrinth. When your soul selects her card, Ariadne is a symbol of the hope and divine assistance in the step-by-step process we can take to move through a difficult time or to confront an injustice in our life. She helps Theseus because she's daring to end a pattern of madness. He's willing to do whatever needs to be done to stop the injustice. She gives him the tools to create his desired outcome. He is successful because of her, and she assists because he acts with courage. Her message is that our courage is always in some way rewarded. We seek to end an unnecessary pattern or routine that is no longer serving us, even though we initially created it in the effort to keep us safe. It can feel as insurmountable as facing a horned part man, part beast that lives in the dark maze inside of us. Pure terror. But the soul always wants our freedom. The divine is what liberates, not confines. It might feel like we can't find our way out of this situation, this maze, but we can. We can trust the soul knows the way through, and that spiritual support is given. Ariadne wants us to be brave so that she can fall in love with our actions. She is both a goddess and a human. She gets our fear, but she also knows how much power we hold as well. Soul voice meditation, what allows me to feel supported while doing the inner work. Intention. My soul knows the way. The only way out is through. Wow. That's powerful and beautiful. So I'm looking forward to reading this yoga path card, but before I do, I'm just like struck by this heart. I think there's like a sphere, or it might be representing a planet, just like right at the heart of this deity. It's really standing out to me right now. Okay, so let's read about this yogic path card. So this is the goddess of space and infinite possibilities. And it came up upright, so I'll read that paragraph. You have learned the art of creating space and experiencing the cosmos that exists inside of you. Oh, I wonder, that must be what that planet or sphere represents. This goddess comes to you in deep meditation, in profound nature, in oceans and in silence. Her stillness guides you to enter deeper into the cosmic web of potentials that exists for you in the present moment. Continue making time for whatever brings you to the point of total stillness. This is where your true self resides. Know that you are not just a part of the earth, but the earth is also a part of you, and you are lovingly held by her presence. Wow. Wow, that's so powerful. Oh, sorry about that. So I'm just really struck because it's, the only way out is through. My soul knows the way. And then it's almost like advice from spirit is continue to tap into stillness so you can hear your soul, so you can navigate this labyrinth, so to speak. And isn't it interesting that labyrinth is used in a relationship advice reading? Because I think if we're honest with ourselves, sometimes relationships can feel like labyrinths, can't they? Like relationship dynamics can be really tricky, especially when they were created unconsciously. You know what I mean? So a lot of us get into relationship, and this can be in families, friendships, with coworkers, with intimate partners, even if you're like an adult to a children, right? You can establish dynamics pretty unconsciously. And then when things aren't working out, or you're in the midst of a difficult season, it can be pretty confusing because you didn't necessarily lay down those dynamics consciously, right? So it can feel so much like a labyrinth. And like, I like when she said in this Divine Feminine deck, like pure terror. Like sometimes changing relationship dynamics can feel like pure terror because we establish certain dynamics out of our sense of safety, right? And so when we wake up to the fact that maybe they aren't super healthy and different dynamics need to be established, there are parts of us that are really, really terrified of that. So I think it's important to honor those parts and honor the fact that they have good reason to be terrified. And the more you can connect with, do the inner work, connect with your soul, the more that part of you is going to be able to guide the conscious establishing of healthier dynamics. And you're going to make your way through what feels like a labyrinth now. But once you get out, it won't be as, you're going to look back and it won't look as scary or as hard as it feels right now. And I don't say that to, I definitely don't say that to undermine any fear or discomfort or terror that you're feeling. I say that more to help you understand that I can just sense it. And this talked about potentials, right? You have this potential, or I guess what wants to be said is you're stronger than you think, okay? And you have capacity to navigate the situation now. I think like the only thing that would deter you from that is like a habitual, a habit of disassociating, I guess. So thinking that, almost like trying to get out of the through by running backwards. Is that resonating? Instead of being like, okay, I am in the labyrinth. Here I am. Because running backwards in a labyrinth doesn't help anything, right? But sometimes we think that it does, right? So it's just this continual step-by-step moving forward, realizing you're intended to be in the through. And again, through the through is where the becoming happens. Through the through is how you gain strength. And you're going to understand how to navigate the through. Again, my soul knows the way. Excuse me. So navigating the through by tapping into that connection with source, with spirit, with Mother God, with your soul, whatever term you want to give, the ethereal part of us, that connection to life. There is a way through. There is and I'm thinking of like the red yarn that this goddess or this mistress gave her hero, so to speak. Whatever, you get it. But it's almost like your higher self has given you a ball of red yarn and you can follow it through. It just requires a little more stillness, taking the time to understand you are navigating something, and so that you're going to need direction from spirit. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes I think when we're trying not to be in the through and we aren't aware that we're navigating something, we don't look for direction. And then sometimes I also think we try to force direction. So the ego parts of us, the scared parts of us try to give us direction. So there's a different request, different advice that's being offered here. And that's, can you get direction from that? Can you try to find that metaphorical red yarn that's being set out for you by your higher self, by your soul? That's what's going to help you baby step by baby step navigate this labyrinth, this thing, the situation that feels like a labyrinth now. But I have no doubt that or after time has passed, after you have baby step by baby step navigated this labyrinth, the situation that you might curse at this point will be something that you will see as such a blessing in the future, because it helped you become it helped you become who you are intended to become. And so this relationship that you're navigating is truly helping you get stronger. And again, as I say that, I certainly don't mean to undermine any hurt that has been caused to you by this other person, or I don't mean to like excuse it in any way. And the more you can tap into your own inner strength and figure out how to do what you need to do for yourself to keep yourself safe and healthy, safe, emotionally healthy, and certainly physically safe and physically healthy, the more you're going to get to know yourself, and you're going to build in this capacity for not just the difficult things of life, but as we build capacity for the difficult things of life, we also kind of paradoxically build capacity for joy. Do you know what I mean? And you are going to be able to move forward not only knowing more of who you are, but also knowing more of what healthy relationship dynamics look like. So moving forward, whether it's with this person or others, you will know how to establish them more consciously from the onset, saving yourself a world of time and hurt moving forward. So I'm sorry for what might feel like a dark and scary period for you. And I'm also very encouraged and inspired by the light that you clearly are, and excited about the potentials and the future that you're building, not just in terms of what you will create, but also, again, who you are becoming. So remind yourself often that through the through is how you become. And so there's purpose in this through. Allow that to offer yourself a little relief when when we'd rather exit the through, when we'd rather find a way out that's not through. And oh my goodness, I can resonate in my own way with that. So you're not alone in this. I think a lot of sensitive souls are navigating this at this point in time. So please, please, please know that this is, again, you're not alone. I think there is some essence of destiny to this, where you couldn't have avoided this, maybe is a better way to put it. You were intended to go through this relationship circumstance because there's so much for you to learn from. And that learning is about tapping into who you are, your inner strength, what you need. It's definitely not about like what the other person needs. I don't know why that's coming out. I think actually, as I say that, I'm going to read something that's so bizarre. So I'm going to read something to kind of bring this to completion that I saw on Instagram today. And I believe it was from Mastin Kipp. And I think he just summarized a lot of essentially the relationship healing that I've been doing. And I had never heard it put so succinctly. So let me find it here. There it is. Okay, he said, one of the fastest ways to dysregulate your nervous system is to have empathy and compassion for others without boundaries for yourself. Whoa, right? I'm going to read it one more time. One of the fastest ways to dysregulate your nervous system is to have empathy and compassion for others without boundaries for yourself. So I guess that's part of the reason. I think if you're tuning into this has resonated up until this point. You're not the type of person whose healing lies in growing in compassion and empathy for others. Okay. So some people have a different healing path, and that's where their healing lies. I think for people like you and I, our healing lies in something else, and that's in boundaries for ourselves and compassion and empathy for ourselves. So we often have oceans of compassion and empathy for others, which can lead to excusing a lot of bad behavior, right? And so I think part of navigating this labyrinth is going to be about creating boundaries for yourself, doing what you need to do for yourself, especially because that is required to tap in to what our higher self is wanting us to know about ourselves, about the relationship, and about how to navigate through the labyrinth of life. So I wish you the best of luck. I'm sending you a big hug, and I think you're doing way better than you think. Be kind to yourself as you move through this labyrinth. Be kind to yourself. and know that you deserve treatment from all people that is just as is equal to the kindness that you offer others. And so there's something here about beginning to set that standard a little higher for yourself, because you certainly deserve it. And again, it's going to help you navigate this labyrinth that might be difficult, might be tricky, might be scary, but is also very, very, very purposeful. There's a reason you're going through this, and you are stronger than you think. You have what you need to navigate.